floating action button is a floating button used to display various actions when we hover or click it. It can display these actions in the top, bottom, left or right direction. It can also be set to display a toolbar of actions. First, we see the basic example of our floating action button. This can be found in the bottom right corner of the viewport, which is the default location. We can see that when we hover above it, it expands and shows the items inside. We have 3 floating action buttons here with 3 different icons for bold, italic and underlined text. You can change the direction if you want. You can specify that to be the top, which is the default, the bottom, the left and the right side. You can also make it appear on click only, like so. And finally, we can make it expand into a toolbar. Currently, this doesn't work in my implementation, and I really don't know why, but you can see it in action here in the official documentation. Now, when I click this, it turns into a regular toolbar. All right, let's get started. In our code editor, we start with creating a div class or div tag with the class fixed action btn. We'll give this the ID floating basic, since we need to initialize this with JavaScript in a moment. Then we'll create a button, which is a button tag with the type attribute with the value button, and the class btn floating and btn large, so just a regular floating button that we know. Then we'll add an icon as the content of our button. So we add the I tag with the class material icons, and the icon will be the add icon specified like so. And we'll close the I tag again and close the button tag. Now we'll create the expandable floating buttons inside of an unordered list. Inside of that, we create a list item, and inside of that list item, we create a button. We give it the type attribute with the value button, just like before, and the class btn floating. This time, it will not be a large button. Then we add an icon, just like before. This will be format bold. Close the I tag and close the button tag. Let's copy and paste this a few times and change the icon to the format italic icon and the format underlined icon, like so. Now we need to initialize this, so we'll add this script tag down here, and then we'll first get the element. So we create this variable element or lm basic, and we write document get element by ID and specify the ID to be floating basic. And then we create the instance in another variable called instance basic, and we write m dot floating action button dot init, and then pass in the element lm basic as our argument. Now we save this, go into the browser, select the right tab and refresh. Now we can see the floating action button appearing in the lower right corner, and when we hover it, it expands to reveal its content. So this is the default location. Now let's see how we can change the direction so it's not only appearing in the top, and also we'll change the location to be centered on the screen inside of our main area here. So to do this, we need to add a little bit custom code as well. But let's continue, and let's just copy all of this code here. Now, before we paste this in, we'll create a wrapping element, a div tag with the style attribute with the value position relative and height 300 pixels. This is just so we can better see all of these different examples next to each other. We'll now paste all of this code in from before, indent it like so, and we'll update this value to floating top. We'll also give this a style tag, the position absolute, just like so. So notice that all the code is the same inside. We just have this to be positioned absolute inside of this div, so we can better see this example. Now to set the direction, we need to do that when we initialize this. So we'll copy this here and we'll change the basic to top. So we're now getting the element with the ID floating top. And now we want to pass in some options, pass in the option direction to be top, which is also the default location. Let's save, go back in the browser and refresh. Here we see the new location because we added the wrapping div element and we set it to position absolute, and we can see the default direction top. Now let's change that direction. We go back here, copy all of this code, paste it in to the bottom left and right example, and now we'll just update the IDs to be floating bottom, floating left, and floating right. Then we'll copy and paste this code here, bottom, left, right. We'll update all of these values at the same time. Bottom, please notice that this should be small letters. Left, change this to a small L again. And finally, we have the direction right. Alright, so the only thing that's changed here is the ID for the element and the direction value. Let's save this, go back, refresh. Now we can see the bottom appearing in the bottom, and the left appearing to the left, and the right appearing to the right side. So to make this look like the reference section, what I forgot to just do here is to also add the left 0 property here in the style tag. If we go back and save now, it will appear over to the left side. All right, let's see how we can make this open only on click. So we go back here and let's copy paste the default one here. Paste it in, change the ID to click, like so. And now we'll scroll down here, copy and paste this. And now we'll change this property here to hover enabled false. Let's save, go back and refresh. Now we can see that nothing happens when we hover above it, but when we click on it, it opens. The same is true if or when you want it to be closed, you need to click on it again. Finally, let's see how we code the toolbar, even though we won't get it to work, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video. But we'll copy and paste this code here, like so. Change the value to toolbar, and then we'll copy and paste this here, update these values to toolbar. This time we need to add the property toolbar enabled with the value true. One more thing we need to do is that we need to add the toolbar class to the parent element here, to the fixed action bgn class, toolbar, like so. Now let's save, go back and refresh, and we can see that nothing happens when we hover or click on it. In the console we can see that there is indeed an error happening. I can't explain why that is happening. I've tried several different things, also recreating it in CodePen, but that doesn't work neither. But if you look here at the official documentation, we can make a refresh. We'll see that it is actually working on their page. It's a little bit strange. But this was all about the floating action button.